So
So with the Bengals, though, do you what do you think? Did you listen to the Malik Wright, Mike Seitz video yet?
no,
Did you
I
watch
didn't
that?
get around to it. I know what you're talking about.
I'm not gonna say anything about it. I haven't watched it personally. But I just know that my buddy Mike Seitz is on there, and shout out Mike Seitz for that. I just didn't know if you had watched it or if you believe that the window has closed at all for the
so
Cincinnati Bengals. Is it a window that's closing? Do you think what do you think? Because I'm Seitz is a very intelligent man, but obviously, I mean, I didn't hear either points, so I can't really say anything. He's a big sports guy, but I think Cincinnati fans know Cincinnati better than Steelers fans or even any fan really. So I'm sure that you'd be eager to mention something.
I would say, from an objective perspective, I do believe that the window is still open. And I believe that there will always at least be a sliver of an open window as long as Joe Burrow is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. That being said, I'm gonna talk about the negatives first before I talk about the pros. Two weak rooms that the Bengals have right now are defensive tackle and tight end. So tight end, a guy that I really want to do well is this guy, Tanner McLaughlin. We talked about him a little bit last week.
Yeah.
He didn't have a ton of playing time in the first preseason game. He did have one reception for 23 yards. I believe he also had another large gain that was wiped off by a Jackson Carman penalty, which shocking. Jackson Carman shouldn't be on the team. He is only still on the team by the fact that there's injuries and stuff. I'm pretty sure if Amarius Mims hadn't have gotten injured, Jackson Carman would have been cut already. But that's where we're at. Tanner McLaughlin, I see him as being a potential future receiving tight end that can be strong. His run blocking wasn't where I want it to be. I believe he can perform better. He didn't take any pass blocking snaps. They also drafted Eric All Jr. I would like to see more depth at that tight end room. And then Tanner McLaughlin is really who I'm watching and will continue to watch to improve that room. And if that tight end room can get elevated, that window opens a little bit more. Other room that is worrisome, defensive tackle, second round pick, Chris Jenkins out of Michigan, the mutant. Super exciting player. Like, social media loves this guy. However, he is not a DJ Reader replacement. DJ Reader went to the Detroit Lions in the offseason. We don't know how he's going to perform. He left with an injury. Who knows what will happen? But McKinley Jackson, who was also drafted this season, I believe is more of the DJ Reader replacement than Chris Jenkins. They lined Chris Jenkins up in the A gap during the preseason, and he got double teamed, and frankly, he got destroyed. He is branded as more of a run defender than a pass defender, but he is not an A block or an A gap run defender, in my opinion. Can he become that? Sure, puts on some weight, but the A gap gets double teamed all the time. So you're gonna get bulldozed if you don't have that weight, if you don't have that leverage. So I want to see, and again, McKinley Jackson could come in, late round pick, and be amazing. He could come in and be phenomenal and be instant starter, no problem. Line him up with BJ Hill, we're good to go. But I want to see those two rooms get developed, and then that window opens more. The thing that I believe will keep the Bengals window the widest open is the fact that the Bengals can draft wide receivers like no other team. And we have seen this time and time again. The Bengals have always had great wide receivers. Chad Ochocinco, AJ Green, TJ Houshmandzadeh. Now you've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and this guy. This pick was great. Jermaine Burton looked amazing. If you have not gone and seen Jermaine Burton's catches in this game, and he didn't get a ton of playing time, I don't think he's going to be a first-team guy right away. I do still kind of subscribe to the idea of a rotating wide receiver 3 between Jermaine Burton and Andre Yoshivas. But Jermaine Burton had some fantastic catches in this game from Logan Woodside. Joe Burrow wasn't even throwing to him. This was the third string quarterback throwing to him. He had some great deep catches. He had a touchdown. Super exciting. And I believe that the Bengals' constant ability to bring in talented wide receivers with Joe Burrow will help keep that Super Bowl window open, will help them remain competitive. Because even after T. Higgins leaves, which could easily happen this offseason, I still feel confident. Let Chus back into the show here. I
Got a
feel
little carried away there, haven't you?
I do still feel confident that Jermaine Burton can take over, that Andre Yoshivas can take over those T. Higgins snaps. I am not worried about that, and I think that is what will keep the Bengals window open, but it gets wider with that tight end room getting better, that defensive tackle room getting better.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I personally, I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong. Obviously, I mean, I'm going to root against the Bengals, but also I'm not, like I said, I don't have them at the lowest part of my list right now. I still have Cleveland probably at the lowest part of my list in the AFC North when it comes to rivalries. But yeah, I mean, I was just really curious on what you had to say in regards to everything, just because I like I said, my buddy Mike Seitz, was a part of it. Is this one of
Look at this.
or
Isn't that not
I mean,
beautiful?
it's a good catch. I mean, who threw it to him? Who was
this
that?
Is Logan Woodside.
Okay.
So,
is that your backup now?
No, he's the third string.
Okay.
I screen grabbed it real quick.
Good throw.
He hesitates a little bit. It was a nice overall play, and the flag that was for illegal contact, so it stayed. The touchdown counted. It was beautiful. So that's Jermaine Burton.
Cool. Yeah.
If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Jermaine Burton highlights right now. Leave this show, Google Jermaine Burton highlights, watch the video, and then come back.
Yeah. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I feel like, arguably, I think the Bengals and the Steelers both have had a long history of drafting pretty solid wide receivers. I mean, we've kind of gone down a list here. I mean, I think out of the last, couple of years, I think Juju was probably, maybe arguably are not as good compared to like a Pickens or an Antonio Brown. But I mean, even then, I feel like Juju really was a big key factor in those couple of years where AB left and whatnot, and we still did relatively well. I feel like the AFC North is just decent when it comes to drafting receivers for the most part. I feel like us too. I feel like our teams do. I don't know. I don't know if I can say the same about Baltimore right now or Cleveland, to be completely honest. I mean, they had Terrell Pryor as their wide receiver one for a while, and he was initially quarterback when he got drafted in the NFL. So I mean, you look at a kind of some interesting concepts in the AFC North. But no, I agree. I was just curious because, as mentioned, you followed Malik Wright. I followed Mike Seitz, and Mike Seitz, I literally saw on Sunday. So he was popping up on my Twitter on top of talking about the Pirates game. But yeah, just curious to see what your opinion was coming from diehard Bengals fan Joshua over here. So
that's my opinion. I think as long as Joe Burrow is the quarterback in Cincinnati, we will see this window reopen or open, and I think we will see it get elevated here in the next few seasons as well. What
I was gonna say, do you think you have a better shot with T or with like the new guys coming in? Like, do you think that you're better off winning with Jamar, T, and like a Yoshi Voss, Burton type style, or do you think that like Burton it's going to be Burton, Yoshi Voss, and then like Trenton Irwin kind of like on the outside looking in with a wide receiver 4? Like, are you more confident in the future than present?
I guess I'd say I'm more confident in the present because I know what T. Higgins is right now, but also because right now all of those guys are on the team. Like this season, we have T. Higgins and Burton and Yoshi and Charlie Jones, if you want to throw him in there, and Trenton Irwin. Next season, it might just be Jamar Chase and Burton and Yoshi. Who knows if Irwin resigns? I think he's only on a 1-year deal. So I could be wrong about that, but even still, I I think this year, your current year is always your best year when you're built like the Bengals are, and you're not in a clear rebuild. And the Bengals obviously aren't in a rebuild. But let's move on. There's a team that you like called the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Yeah.
and there's actually debate online about whether you guys are in a rebuild.
Yeah, it's interesting right now. I can tell you that.
Because, and really, I think this debate stemmed with the Brandon Ayuk rumors, because the argument essentially goes, it makes no sense to trade for Brandon Ayuk unless you believe you're in a Super Bowl window right now. However, the Steelers have an old defense. Like, a lot of their defensive stars are older players with TJ Watt,
Mhm.
Cam Hayward, stuff, those guys. There are some young stars on the team. But also, is your quarterback situation good enough to where you believe you could win a Super Bowl? So, like, what are your thoughts then on the Steelers Super Bowl window?
I mean, the thing is I think right now Omar Khan is really, I mean, obviously Omar Khan is like one of the most aggressive GMs probably in the NFL. I mean, you could probably debate that, but I genuinely think over the last couple of years I've seen the aggressiveness in Omar Khan. Clearly he wants to win, and he's big buyer in the team. And I think the reason that they're trying to get Brandon Ayuk is, I don't know if it's necessarily him focusing entirely on the offense, but I think the idea that he wants the defense full of like your Minka Fitzpatricks, your Cam Haywards, your TJ Watt, like that Watt brother, to get that ring. Because obviously when Watt's healthy and you have all those defensive starters healthy, the team is just completely reliant on the defense. And although the games kind of suck and the offense doesn't move in the right direction, you genuinely have seen like the Steelers win these like 16-10 games with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, like these ridiculous games, but the defense is holding on. And I think Omar Khan's idea is that if he can get like even like an average quarterback, because listen, I'm a big Kenny Pickett fan, but looking at it from this perspective now, he's not as good of a quarterback as everyone thought. He's definitely below average in comparison to even Fields, who didn't have the best preseason showing. Now we can argue that could have been the O-line. That also could have been just, new territory, new feel, but I don't think he's that bad. I think he definitely will have a little bit more time to shine. But when it comes to the Steelers Super Bowl window, I think that it's not as wide open as I would say like a Bengals. I feel like it's shrinking more and more, because eventually, I don't know off the top of my head how old Watt is, but I know that we drafted Watt in 2017. So he's obviously been in the league for 7 years. So obviously it's taken a toll, and you kind of have to assume that Cam Hayward's going to be on his way out. He's not performing the same as he once was. He's out for a little bit longer when it comes to injuries. And I think Omar Khan is hoping that with, the right tools, whether it's Russell Wilson and or Justin Fields and maybe Brandon Ayuk and George Pickens and a solid run game with Warren and Najee, that you could maybe sneak in a 10-7, 6 or 7 seeded run and just go through and win the Super Bowl like you did in 2005. And I mean, it's possible. It's not impossible that it'll happen. Right now, I feel like I need to see a little bit more. I mean, maybe with adding Brandon Ayuk, it could change the whole, perspective on what I'm thinking, because obviously I haven't seen Russell Wilson play for the Steelers and Arthur Smith's offense yet, because obviously he has gotten hurt, and they said that he was not going to play week 1. All we saw was Fields, who honestly, I mean, didn't play as many snaps as Kyle Allen, but Kyle Allen looked really good for a QB3 when he went like 17 of 24, touchdown, interception. Pretty sure Fields also threw a touchdown that got called back because it was like out of bounds. But yeah, I mean, this guy looked really good. I mean, the other Allen from Buffalo, I mean, he looked relatively decent considering, I mean, we had Justin Fields and all this hype around him, but Fields got sacked twice, but he looked really good. I mean, he really did, just looking back on it. But I think in comparison to you guys, I think our window is shrinking, and I think that's kind of why Omar Khan seems to be kind of like buying in a way, because I feel like, like if you think about it, like the LA Rams had a lot of the pieces, and they just started buying players and like big trades and doing all these things. And they won that one Super Bowl, and then it just became a tank rebuild. Now, I don't think Omar Khan wants to do that, because he likes to build up from the draft. And, we've been seeing that with like the picks that he's been doing. He's not as, he's not real keen on giving away picks and stuff. Omar Khan is a very intelligent guy, but I do think, in my perspective, the window is shrinking, especially since Watt and Minka and Cam are getting older. And if you don't have a sustainable offense now, and you're relying completely on your defense, in like 2 or 3 years, you're not going to have those defensive players that you're really relying on. And eventually you're just going to have nothing, and you're going to have that losing season.